welcome to the Purpose Over Profit podcast with Darren and Chris, where each week we discuss what it takes to live a life of purpose and profit and explore the lives of people trying to achieve just that. Welcome back to the Purpose Over Profit podcast. As always, I've got my co-host with me, Chris. How are you doing, Chris?
Very well. The sun is shining up in Glasgow, so it's very happy up here.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, this week we have the fantastic Aimee Browne with us. She's a business growth strategist, someone I've worked with previously, and she's all about helping business owners start their businesses, grow their businesses, but without this element of burnout. So it'll be great to hear about how your business career's developed, a bit about how you're helping business owners just now, and yeah, for any listeners maybe thinking about some hints and tips about how they can help their business, hopefully she's got some of them for us too. So, Aimee, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Brilliant. I'm really great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. I know it's been a number of weeks since we've been in touch, but yeah, it's great to have you on, and I'm sure our listeners are in for a treat today. So, I guess just to kick off, are you able to just tell us a little bit about your background and how you've arrived at where you are just now?
Yeah, sure. So I started out as an executive assistant in corporate. So I work for some of the UK's biggest high street retailers. So for the likes of Next and The Works. Working alongside the directors and CEOs on the board level, and they were quite meaty roles, so really extensive, like time management, event management, organisation on a variety of different levels, and I absolutely loved that role. It just spoke to all of my natural traits in terms of control and perfectionism and all of that. Like, I'm such a high achiever, overachiever. I want everything to be like just so. So having those natural traits, I think, really lended itself quite well to doing that role. And you're kind of just the go-to for any kind of department or in the business and stuff. And I'm such a people person too. So the two things, it just went really hand in hand. But I really embraced that whole identity as an EA. I've always been like really ambitious, really driven. And, you know, I really wanted to do everything kind of like my way, in the nicest possible way, just because I know it's done in the way that I like it. And that saw me just kind of taking on more and more work from people around me, because then I just know, oh yeah, like it's all together, it's all fine. And I just burnt out on a major level when I was in corporate. I don't think I really knew kind of like who I was under the surface of the label of, or the identity, I suppose, of an executive assistant, just striving for that societal perfection, if you like, for good job, good career, you know, mum, or a wife, like all of that type of thing. And it was a big kind of, I don't know, I suppose like awakening, if you like, of when I reached that point of burnout and I reached that point of darkness. In that it was a bit of a wake-up call that I actually hadn't really been living my life at all. I'd just been kind of working and just a complete slave to the routine, and just at the detriment of my own health, both physical and mostly mental. You know, I had severe anxiety from that. I was having panic attacks, insomnia, depression, and I saw me not having like a sick day at all, like to having 3 months out. And it was from there really that started this. I started a blog for other assistants, because we work quite in silos. You know, we have a face for our execs, and whilst we have a really great relationship with them, they're like they're CEOs or directors, you know. So I didn't want to tell them, and then I'm a face to the department, or in fact, you know, I felt like I had to have it all together all the time, and the thought that I wasn't coping, or I didn't have it together when I was supposed to be the go-to. I felt like such a failure, and I felt so vulnerable, and that was really hard. So I wanted to share with other assistants, like, okay, how can you be really successful and take care of yourself? So all of the things that I'd learned to get better after my burnout, try and just implementing these new strategies and this new way of working and these new habits in my life to take care of my mental health, while still having a successful career. So I returned back to work as an EA, and I'd started this blog, sharing about self-care, sharing vulnerably about my own story, because I don't think a lot of people did at that time. And it really just took off from there. And within like a couple of months, I was doing my own speaking events, which, although I've very much been, a voice at the board table and I've done presentations and stuff, I was never about me. And, my first event was like 50 people sharing very, very deeply about my own mental health journey. But it just resonated with so many. And I just think that was just like amazing to see that I could inspire people to make change in their habits, or believe in themselves, or know they're not a failure, or that this is really normal. And these feelings, anxiety is a very normal thing that people experience, obviously at deeper levels at different times and whatnot. But yeah, and then it really developed when I was like, God, I kind of always knew that I wanted to run a business. And of course,
can I just ask, actually, so that was still in the corporate world, you were still going through that process and journey of opening up, and then people are asking you to come and talk about it? Was that still during that?
Yeah, so I was still working my full-time job, and I'd got the blog, which was called The Mindful Assistant, and yeah, I was working with like there was a big recruitment agency, Hayes, who I worked quite closely with to reach other assistants throughout the whole of the UK. So yeah, I was doing a lot of events at that point, and I was posting daily with like self-care strategies and inspirational quotes, or just sharing with them how I was feeling on a daily basis. Because at this point I worked in Birmingham, so which is a 2-hour commute there and back. I've still got 2 young children, and I'd returned to work, and I'm trying to take care of my mental health. So it was like, how do you do this alongside of that thing? I was working for a CEO with like 8 directors. I was the only assistant in the business at that point. So how do you manage all of these things and still take care of yourself along the way? And that was really like my tagline, if you like. It was like, who's taking care of you? You're taking care of your boss, your family, your friends. You want to be the best friend and the best wife and the best thing. Like, how can you take care of yourself alongside of all of these things?
That's what I was going to say, because I've worked with quite a few EAs in my time as well, and imagine that kind of person standing up and being so open and being so honest. And actually, they seem to be the hub, the people that you go to for support and help when you need to get to speak to the CEO and everyone else. And for somebody to open up, it must have been so brave at the time to be. It's quite a game changer in quite a lot of industries as well.
Yeah, I think I kind of did it under it wasn't my face. When I first started sharing, I found it, I was like, oh my God, I didn't kind of want to make it about me. Like, I shared the Mindful Assistant was just the Mindful Assistant. It wasn't like Aimee. And then a little bit further into the journey, I kind of got a little bit more confident. And obviously when I started to do the speaking events, when the Hayes approached me, I was like, right, okay. And then, yeah, it was definitely scary. And obviously I see online business owners now who are like, oh my God, like, what if my aunt or my best friend down the road sees me or whatever? But my purpose felt so much bigger than it was bigger than me and how I felt. And then just seeing the reaction and how it resonated with people, and the fact that it was helping people. And I got so many messages about, how they had made positive changes in their life. God, it makes me quite emotional thinking about it. It's just amazing. Like, I had a queue of women at my first speaking event. It was just like, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. And that has really just been my drive ever since, really. Like, from doing the events and just posting online to, okay, I've been an assistant for over 15 years as a quite high level. So not only can I guide these assistants through a career coaching, if you like, but then I can also help them from just a mentor perspective, and just about how to build that self-care into their everyday too. Definitely not trying to help anyone on a deeper you know, mental level, because that's absolutely, they need professional help, but I'd also help guide them to where they could find that too, because that was something that I really struggled with, the waiting lists for support and how you can tap into resources when you are feeling like that was particularly hard. But yeah, I think that's where I used to have conversations with my director, and he'd be like, oh, you should, because I had a team of assistants when I worked at Next, and he'd be like, oh, you should do something, you should run your own business, I would totally support you, be excellent. And we were just like, but what is it? What's the business? So we didn't know. And then it was only like when I came to start doing these events and meeting other assistants and mentoring and things like that, I was like, oh my God, this is totally the thing. Like, I just want to go like 100% full ass Aimee, as I do with everything. So yeah, I invested in my first coach. I didn't have one client and like nothing. I didn't have a business model at this point. I just knew I had a dream, a passion for making this, like monetizing this and reaching more women, more people.
How long ago was this, Aimee? Sorry. How long ago was that?
It was August 2019. Wow. So I remember the date, it was the 1st of August 2019, and the payment for my coach was bigger than my mortgage. I was like sweating, like dry mouth, like, but I just felt so like I have a just total belief in something. Like if I feel, I just don't know, I just knew I could do it. And it was just so scary. And obviously I had to look my husband in the whites of his eyes as well and tell him, I can do this. I won't put us into financial ruin. And yeah, I definitely didn't have the money sitting there to pay like, you know, 25K's worth of coaching or whatever it was. Like, I definitely did not. It was just like, I know that I can make it happen. And I flew to LA for a retreat, and we went to the Hollywood Hills. Wow. And then I was in this room.
My coach has never taken me there. Like,
wow. I don't know coaching was like that. That sounds amazing. Yeah. Hollywood Hills. Wow.
Oh, I know. Like when I go full ass, And I was just like, oh yeah, I'll pay for this.
So I'm trying to imagine the conversation with your partner, your husband, who I'm assuming knows you go full ass and everything you want to do. He's probably just like that. You're going to do coaching, okay? Whereabouts? Is it in the UK? No. Europe? No.
Well, I know. The thing is, I think I've always kind of, I've been very 100% full ass in my corporate career. Like, he knows that I'm all in. Like, if I go for a job, I'm like, yes, right, I'm gonna get it, it's fine, and I did. But I've never done something where it's all just actually been, I don't know, about me, or it didn't feel as risky, if you know what I mean, because this was me putting myself on the line, not only me having to be so vulnerable, but also as financially, like that risk as well. It's like, it felt massive. But yeah, I was just like little Paddington Bear with my little rucksack, going through the airport with just my dreams in my pocket to LA. I've been with my husband since I was like 17, so just traveling across the world without him. And I had total imposter syndrome, like in rooms with coaches that were, you know, trained, certificated, like incredible, like mindset coaches, like all of these things. But yeah, the rest is history, I suppose. Came back. And I was continued to work it as a side hustle, if you like. So started to build out what my business looked like. And I think the turning point really was I was working with assistants and coaching assistants, or mentoring. I don't coach, mentoring assistants. And I realized all the things that you have to do to run an online business. Like, I just want to help people. And then actually it's like, oh no, you need to schedule the social media. You need to do, you know, how do we book a call, like all the marketing, like showing up, doing the things outside a full-time job. And that, I was like, oh, shit, this is like quite overwhelming actually. And I just had a weekend where I was like, right, I need to start treating my business like a business and apply. I remember my coach saying to me, like, Aimee, like, this is your thing. You've worked alongside, you know, CEOs, like strategy is your thing. You've the most organized person I know. And so when I started to look at my own business through a different lens and apply everything I know, I then really started to put all the structure and the systems, management time, like all of that stuff, and it kind of changed. And then because I was in like a group coaching program with lots of women that had online businesses, but much further along than me. I could see the overwhelm that it was bringing to them. And that was really the pivot point. And okay, I really want to help ambitious, driven women just like me create this impact, create the income, grow their businesses, but do it without burning out and without all the overwhelm. And I can help them do this by creating these intentional strategies, creating the systems and the organization and managing their time in a way so that they can still have the freedom and the harmony between their life and business. That was what they envisaged themselves. Because when I know that I was in that dark place and I was burnt out and all the rest of it, that's when you get perspective, and it's like, oh gosh, I'm not been living at all. And although these things are really important to us and we feel really passionate about our career or our business, we need to live our lives too, because every day is such a gift. So how can we get the balance between those things? I say harmony because I don't really believe in balance, but how can we create those harmony between those two things? And that's when it really, really changed. So I think that pivot kind of came at the tail end of 2019. And then last year was just insane growth. It was just amazing, and we continue to grow from there. Really feel like I've just talked to you guys for like 20 minutes.
It's great. It's such a good story. I'm interested, like, in terms of that transition. So I think you said around August 2019, so we're going back just before, obviously year before a global pandemic. But what was your mindset? Was it like a trigger moment that said, right, I need to change? Was there a moment that you were working in your corporate career that you said, no, this isn't going to work for me anymore? Or was it more a kind of a chipping away or a growing realization and confidence that, no, actually I can step into something of my own here?
Yeah, I think I absolutely loved my job as an EA. Like, I loved it. I loved the people that I worked with. I loved the company. So there was definitely not that, you see quite a lot online, like, oh, your 9 to 5 is making you feel like this. You want to, like, it wasn't that at all. Worked for the most amazing company that's so supportive and everything else. But it just felt bigger. My purpose felt bigger. And I think seeing that change, like I say, when you receive those messages, when you have worked with somebody and they've come with their little seed of an idea, and then you've managed to work with them to grow this into something that's full blown, where you see them change, see them grow in confidence, see them get results, like that is just incredible to me. And I feel like so grateful that I'm in a position where I'm able to help people with that. So that felt just so much bigger than working as an EA. And so yeah, I was still doing all of that stuff alongside my full-time job, and I knew that I would wanted to take it full-time. And I had very open conversations with my CEO, and they were so supportive of my business journey. And so I was like, when I leave, then I will help with the transition. Don't you worry, like, we'll get someone in and And they knew that I was, doing stuff outside, and they were just really, I was very, very lucky in the fact that my employer were very supportive, I suppose.
Do you think you could have made that change? I know it's a hypothetical, but do you think you could have made that change without that support?
Yes, because I can do anything. But
well said. Good answer.
But would it have been so easy? I think there's definitely a thing, like when you're building your side hustle, is that it's this burn of passion, but yeah, you've got to be trying to stay on your A game in your day job. And if I've got, integrity is a really big value of mine, and honesty and all of this. And it used to play on my mind. Like, if I did something that was in work hours, I'd be like, oh my God, no, like, that doesn't feel right. And it weighs heavy, like, because you've just got these two things. But yes, you can absolutely make it happen. I think, again, when I started to treat my business like a business and see where I could automate some things and manage it alongside, it became easier. And then you just have to make that mark in the sand, of which I did. Mine got Mine got hurried along a little bit because of furlough, but I definitely still had like a mark in the sand of like, that's when I'm going to leave and that's why I'm working to. But I know it's a juggle, because it's that transition, that financial security for most, you know, like we were due to remortgage. So that was kind of my mark in the sand of, I need to remortgage before I leave my full-time job. So it's a tricky one.
I think that's very important, because obviously Darren and I have both made that journey. We both left and we've both decided to start our own businesses, which is fantastic. But the fact that you've got that support structure around you, and the fact you're so determined as well, shows that, I guess, you were onto a winner no matter what it was. And the fact you've got such a good relationship with your husband, who kind of high fives you as you skip out the door to LA, sounds fantastic as well.
Listen, honestly, although yes, he was supportive most of the time, gosh, he was scared. He was like, I don't know, like, because my husband's self-employed and I've always been employed. So, you know, he works in construction. So sometimes there were periods of times when he didn't have work or whatever, and I could fully pay the bills and everything. So to make the transition where the security blanket financially for us had gone, like that's scary. So, you know, looking you in the whites of your eyes and going, yeah, you know, but then I had to bring it. And it's scary. It's scary to make those leaps. So yes, he has been supportive, but he's also found it very difficult. And I think from somebody as well, my husband and I are very different. Like, I've done all the mindset and the inner work and like all of this thing. My husband's a construction worker. He's a builder, a bit of a lad, and absolutely does not get the online space. He's not on social media, like none of those things. So that can be really challenging, because you've got to manage your own mindset even more to go, no, I've got this. It's hard. It's really hard to make that leap.
I completely resonate with that. Having made, you know, I think I'm just over 3-4 months out of my full-time job. I knew I was getting that for about 6-7 months, but my wife left her full-time job about 2 years before. So we had this period where I was the financial crutch for a couple of years. And then when you're going, right, we're both doing this, there is that, yes, you're supportive of each other and there's maybe a few high fives, but there's also a couple of like really honest and brutal conversations about, right, have we got this? So I'm right in the middle of that just now, which like the support of your partner, though, I do think when it is down to you guys, there's no room for maybe we've got this or maybe we've not. Like, you both need to be committed and supportive of each other in terms of what you're going to do, because anything less than that, even though there's conflict and friction, like anything less than that will breed kind of the other person to potentially get to a point where they can't do that, or they won't do what they need to. So yeah, support, you know, there's definitely something to be said for the support of your partner, even if it's not all sunshine and rainbows and high fives like Chris says. Off to LA.
but that's what it sounds like as well, because obviously it's a mindset shift for both of you, because it's a mindset shift on the kind of availability of time and money that's there. Because I remember when I gave up my job as well, I was used to having the bonus coming in at a certain point of the year, so that bonus would then go towards a holiday. But it's a mindset shift for both of us to go, that's not coming in, so then let's plan for it as well, and that's where it comes into the planning aspect. But it sounds like, from what I've heard, it sounds like you guys are doing fantastic, and this is now, is it year 2 now? Year 3 now, officially? You're in now?
Me?
Yes, you, yes.
Sorry.
Sorry, Aimee, yeah.
I don't know why I thought you were still starting. I went, gosh, I'm just trying to think. So last year, so January, it kind of all took off. And I started to get more consistent clients. I was still fully employed at this point. And then I went to LA again in March for my second retreat, which was super exciting. But then that was literally the weekend, I think the world almost shut down. So I flew to LA on Friday, the 13th of March. And then on the Saturday, American Airlines cancelled my flight home. And I was supposed to have been out there for 10 days. And it was like, you know, like the news frenzy that was like Twin Towers. And it was that we were sitting in the hotel watching it go, oh, we might close the borders and And I was just thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get home? Am I going to be stuck in the US? And, you know, I'd gone with so much more to that retreat thinking I'm going to get so much more clarity on how I'm going to grow my business and because it was so transformational the first time that I went. And I was supposed to be there for 10 days and get my brand photography done, like all of this stuff. And then my flight home was cancelled, and I was just like, oh my God. So we were up all night just trying to get a flight home. So I went to LA for a blow dry and then came home. I was home within like 48 hours. I didn't even get jet lag because of the pandemic. So I came home and I'd got like a week's holiday anyway. And then my boss was like, look, we're going to furlough you. So go and build your business. So actually I had the most amazing opportunity to, still get some of my salary and then the time and energy to put into my business, which was just the biggest gift. And I totally think I manifested COVID, because I was like, right, in May, I'm going to leave. That was the mark I put in the sand. And then it all just kind of played out. So I got furloughed in March, and then I actually handed my notice in July of last year, officially left after my 3-month notice in September. That was the kind of when I was officially full-time, if you like. But my revenue just grew and grew, like record month after record month all throughout last year. And we're projecting like twice as much as last year, which is just incredible. Amazing. So I do believe that obviously I had more of a cushioned landing into the online world, if you like. And I'm so grateful for that.
There's a practical component to that though, and I very much kind of subscribe to the fact, like, I'm involved in property, as you might know, and there's sometimes a misconception, it's like, oh, it's like get rich quick, sack the 9 to 5 and go and build your dreams, when actually there's a whole load of practical, concept. People have mortgages to pay, rent to pay, kids to feed, themselves to feed, all of that sort of stuff, cars to run, and taking a far more strategic approach, which it sounds like you have done, partly by accident potentially, where things were running alongside, but also laterally by choice, where you said, right, I'm going to go and do X, Y, Z. I'm going to have May. That's when I'm going to leave. Having that strategy and working towards that is something which feels like a much more smarter play to me, rather than this kind of just jump and grow your wings on the way down. Like, at some point you might need to jump, but I don't think you don't want to do it on a whim.
No, absolutely not. And I am very much a mix of, I'm all about strategy, as you probably know, and like you say, working smarter and knowing what you're working towards, like having that vision of what you're working towards. I remember in March, I actually wrote out what I wanted to create last year, everything down to my Jaguar F-Pace that I was going to get, and like all of these things, like how much I wanted to make in my business, but what does that income mean to me? Like, rather than just, oh yeah, I want to make this much money, like what does it mean to me, my family, what type of clients did I want, all of that. So yes, I had strategy, but I also had scripted this out, and I visualized it every morning as part of my mindset routine and made it happen, because that would create the belief and the trust that it was going to. So yes, I'm a little bit woo alongside some of the strategy as well, but it totally works, because you have to have that belief. But yes, I believe that you have to have some of that structure in place too, to know that you're moving in the right direction as well. I think, there is a lot of, let's be intuition led and all the rest of it, but we can't just be throwing spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. And like you say, we've got responsibilities in terms of mortgage. I've got children, I had 2 cars to run. My husband was out of work for most of 2020. Because he's, as I say, is in construction. So that was, it's a big weight to carry. For sure. So don't just leave your full-time jobs, everyone. Have a little bit of a plan.
You're on mute, Chris.
Sorry, I was on mute there. I was going to say, it also sounds like you've taken the experiences from the EA position, your own business, the coaching you've been on, and being able to distill that down into what you're doing now and really focus that as well. I mean, because obviously Darren mentioned, he said something amazing to me, which I loved as well. It's like how you can give people the tips to be able to claim their life back and work with people. And I think that was lovely as well, that concept.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely have been investing in myself, for people that are further along in business than myself. So although I've worked along with CEOs and directors in the offline business, so I absolutely know about how to formulate strategy and cascade it and operationally underpin it from offline. Online is very different. So I have invested with multiple coaches where I learn how they operate their businesses and learn from them. And I'm just going through a certification to further enhance my knowledge in terms of strategy and do some mindset and energy editing work as well, which I'm going to bring into. And yeah, everything I learn, I take all of the pieces and really place that together. When I work with my clients, I truly believe there's not a one size fits all. It's all about creating something that's really bespoke and really intentional and really aligned with you, because your lifestyle is going to be very different from mine. And everyone, we have different energetic capacities in terms of, you might not have children, she has children, and the thing is, so many people start off in the online space and they're all just looking at one highlight reel of these of people online and comparing themselves to other people, and actually everyone's got such a different capacity for what they can achieve. Someone might only want to work 3 days a week, or someone might want to work 5, or someone wants to be work towards doing lots of online events, or actually someone just wants to work 20 hours a week and just have a really close group of one-to-one clients. And I think that's really important to establish, like, what does success look like for you in terms of not only for your business, but how that fits with your lifestyle as well. And Darren was part of a masterclass that I did in terms of how do we create that through our schedule. What was the life you envisaged when you first started out in business? And what's the life you're living right now? Because so many people are like, oh, I'll just wait till I've earned that much money, or I'll wait till I get to this certain time or this certain level of success, and then I'll start to live the way that I want. And actually, if you're really ambitious and you're really driven like me, then there'll always be a next thing, always. There always will. So how do we start to live right now? And so I truly believe that you can create that by making that schedule, setting your boundaries, setting when you want to travel, if you want to take the Friday afternoon off, or if you want to do that gym class or do the long lunches or whatever. You've got to schedule that in, because then that really aids your decision making. It puts the boundaries in place, and when something comes in or an opportunity comes in or whatever, it's like, is that in line with my future vision? Or if I say yes to this, I'm saying no to the time with my children, or the no to this. So it's so important that we carve out what our ideal looks like right now. I appreciate it's going to change. Mine will definitely change. I'm working harder to create more freedom still in my business. I think we'll go through seasons, but we can definitely start right now for sure. And that's I think letting yourself know that you've got that power to consciously create your ideal. It's just so empowering. I think people forget. They come out of corporate, they're like, no, I don't want an online calendar, I don't want any structure, I just want to flow. I want to flow in my day. It's like, no, if you can create some structure, actually it means that you can be so much more effective when you're in your business, and you can be more present when you're out of your business, because you've dialed into the detail, and yes, you've got a strategy and a plan to work for, so you're not just like flailing around.
Yeah, and I definitely recognize moving from the corporate world, where I would say, certainly had a successful career. I was a senior manager, I guess, from where I was. But a lot of that time I found certainly, you were reacting to situations, potentially firefighting. Again, every company's different, every role's different. But how I hear you describing that is about owning your boundaries. And I think, whether you're in a corporate job or whether you're running your own business, it's about being really intentional what those boundaries are. And if you fail to claim what those boundaries are, then ultimately someone's going to be setting those boundaries for you. And they're they're not going to have your best interests at heart. So if a call comes in, or an email comes in, or a job comes in, whatever it is, and you don't have boundaries set, whether you deal with it or you don't deal with it, you'll end up just being distracted and dealing with whatever sat at the top of your inbox. And that's just quite a dangerous place to be. At best, it's going to be confused. It's not going to be strategic. You're going to be limiting your growth. But at worst, you could end up, with that. We spoke about anxiety earlier, potentially feeling overwhelmed, and not being able to do anything because there's just frankly too much there. But that has all came about listening to you. That's all came about, and I know you've been through some of that. That's all come about because of a failure to put your boundaries around yourself. So if you can't do that, no one's kind of going to do it for you.
Oh no, absolutely. And I still check in with myself now. I do like a reflection piece every week.
Yeah.
A reflection on like, how did that week feel? Did I overschedule myself or whatever? And then like look forward and reactive. So as you say, like not being reactive all the time, because that really builds that urgency and that horrible frantic energy. Like you say, you're firefighting, you're not making informed decisions, you're not working from a place of calm and clarity, because you are reacting and you are firefighting. And as you say, like things like your inbox is always somebody else's agenda. And if we're not moving into each week with intention, and you're just getting pulled in all of these multiple directions because you've not started your days with intention and you've let everybody else kind of drive and shape your week for you, then you just stay stuck, because you're running from this thing and jumping into that thing and not focusing on, okay, like what is the big priorities for my business? What's the things that are going to really move the needle? What are the things that I really need to do to be visible and to market myself or whatever? And I know that we spoke on the masterclass about like time blocking and making sure that you've got these certain days to work on these particular things. So always having strategic place for strategic activity in your business, and just getting away from that frantic energy, because that's a sure sign that you're on a path to burnout, is when you start to be in that energy all of the time. It's absolutely exhausting.
Just listen to you, actually, it's really interesting as well, because you mentioned around, it sounds like you're giving yourself permission to have a bit of freedom and to take time off and to do stuff because you've planned it and you've scheduled it in, which is crucial. Because I mean, going back to some stuff, would you say that's one of a practical tip you give people just now, if you like? I mean, what would be your top tips just now you can give to somebody around how they can maybe make some small changes in their business that could help them just now?
So I would definitely say spend some time on periodically planning first and foremost. So, on a quarterly basis, I'd have an overall annual vision of like where am I steering my ship. But in terms of a quarter, really dial into the detail of what those bigger projects are. So is it the launching of a program, or I don't know, doing a live series or whatever it is? What are those bigger projects? So always scheduling yourself first in terms of boundaries, time off, that type of thing. That should be the first layer. And then those strategic projects, so layering those in. And you can break them down into really granular form using a project management tool, or if you are doing it on pen to paper, the fall down normally is if we're making these really long lists that they've got some time attachment to them. So if I've got that on there, like when am I actually going to do that? And then obviously your business as usual type activity. So look at the commonalities across your business as usual stuff and try and batch that together, so you can really start to understand and use your energy in the best possible way. So you'll normally have like a natural peak state where you'll feel at your most energized, which will, for me, is normally first thing in the morning. So how can I plan my most important tasks in at the beginning to optimize that really great energy? And if I need to do something in the afternoon, what enables me to get into that peak state? So is it movement? Is it whatever? And I love what you said about giving yourself permission, because I think it's really easy for us to just fall back into a 9-to-5 pattern after we've been in corporate, and actually telling yourself that you've got Friday afternoon or you don't work Fridays because your calendar says so really helps. Oh, I'm going for lunch now. I'm going for that walk. I'm taking that gym class, because you've carved it in. You've done it already. So really taking the time to lay that all out every 90 days. And then monthly or weekly, you're really just checking in on that. Is it still a priority? how does this work? And it's about forming habits, those routines and rituals that, you know, enable you to perform in the best way, to be the most effective, and to actually implement and execute a strategy. Because this is where it falls down quite a lot, is that everyone will do the strategy work, like, yeah, I've got this big plan and this thing or whatever, and it's the execution. There is nothing like running your own business to call you out on your own attention management or focus or, you know, self-mastery. Like, it is, you know, if you've got your boss standing over you with a deadline, is a bit different than having your own deadline and hitting that. Like, there's some stuff you can delegate, some stuff you can systemize, but then there's some stuff you just need to show up and do the freaking work. And I think, yeah, growing your business is just highlights that. I
really want to wonder why Darren's laughing so much. I think you must have hit a nerve with her nerve.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I mean, it's just, I'm thinking then back, it's like planning, batch working, do the freaking work. Right? And I love the honesty around that. But it is, I'm laughing because I love all the planning and strategy stuff, and I love ideation and formulating, like, how can I grow the business, and 101 ideas. Execution's when I get bored, I turn off. So but like tying yourself, like, sometimes physically to the desk to actually just show up and do the work. You're absolutely right. Like, there's nothing about being employed. No salaries dropping on your the end of the month unless you actually go and put in the work. So no, I'm laughing at the
it was so funny how you changed actual colour.
You changed colour, didn't you? Yes, you went more pink.
I'm like that. Someone's calling me out here. That's
Oh, honestly, if you see my my Slack channel with my one-to-one clients, I think I had a whole thread on how I've kicked their asses in 1 week, because if they've come to a call and they've not put the action in between, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, if you don't want to show up and take the action, like, come on. Like, mentors and strategists, whatever, we're not saviors. Like, you've got to put the work in. And I still, like, have to, you know, I'm not perfect in any way, and like, I definitely still have them conversations like, come on, right, let's do this. And it's hard sometimes, it's so hard. But last year I tracked my energy a lot of the time and seen, like, you know, where I have fluctuations of energy or not. And this year, I've actually planned my schedule. So I have a down week. So I don't have any client calls this week, actually, for example. So I can have more creative weeks, and I can just be a little bit more. And I think that's so powerful, that we can honour our energy or honour the way that we work, because I know by the tail end of this week, I will be on fire, and I can literally plan a whole month of, socials, all my lives. I can delegate, like, because I know my energy now. And so I think that's a really good tip, like, track your time.
How do you do that, Aimee? Like, practically, how do you track it? Is that journal? Is it?
Yeah, just on like a note. I just keep a notepad next to me. Like, you will notice your energy fluctuate within a day, and then so men are obviously different from women. Your cycle is normally like 24 hours, whereas a woman's 28 days. So you will find that your energy fluctuates within a day, and you can create your own toolkit to get into a task and start taking action and stop procrastinating and stuff like that. So
just all that circadian rhythm and, like, understanding where you are, like, I guess, where you're at your peak state during the day naturally, and get the most effective stuff done then,
Yeah, exactly. And I think just having the awareness that you are not taking action. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs are just like you in terms of they're super visionary, really excited in the beginning stages of business. Like, we don't have teams, we don't have all of this stuff. Like, we have to do it. And there will always be stuff that will just sit in you want to try and stay in your zone of genius as much as possible. So identifying, like, what is that stuff? So tracking your time to understand where you're spending your time in your business is super important. Then from that list, like, what is in your zone of genius? Everything outside of that should be like, okay, what do I need to get rid of? Is there a system that does this for me, or can I delegate this? So eliminate, automate, delegate. Understanding what your zone of genius first of all is so important, because I have a zone of excellence. I can definitely create Canva graphics, do a lot of the tech stuff, like, whatever. It's not going to bring me money in my business. So that is what I delegate, because people lose themselves in there. So understanding what your zone of genius, and then sorting out that tranche of stuff, and then working with your energy too, and having a toolkit where you're, because so many people sit at their laptop and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing, but they don't really set an intention, like, what is it I want to create, and how do I want someone to feel like? And just using those various techniques like the Mel Robbins 5-4-3-2-1 or the Pomodoro technique and stuff like that. And we do co-working sessions in my Facebook group, because accountability is the one.
It's so much. You said so much there. It's hard to try and pinpoint so many things. So automate, eliminate, delegate. Is that it? Yeah. Yes. I love that. That's like your tagline. I love that. That was fantastic. So I love that factor. I also love the fact that you kind of said earlier on as well about your clients, if they show up and they haven't done an action, they're just like, what's the point in being here? Like, we've got to action this as well. There's so much good stuff you've said in that kind of overall piece around how people can take action for themselves. But it sounds like even though they're taking action for themselves, they still need that further support, because they'll hit that groundhog moment where they're kind of hitting a bad time, or they're procrastinating as well, but they need that a little bit of support. So I guess, what would you say does everyone need a coach? Does everyone need a mentor in your eyes? Or does somebody need somebody to speak to? What do you think?
I definitely think a support of some sort is really important. I think you go through different seasons in your business. So when you're starting out, yes, you have to do everything. But I feel like you have quite a lot of excitement at that stage. So it's really great. Like, people are really into it. Like, oh, I do this thing, I do the Canva, I show up on here, like this, whatever. Then they start to get clients, and then they're like, ooh, okay, my capacity's got a little bit tighter, and actually I'm noticing that perhaps my tasks are getting a little bit more repeatable, like this is how I do the thing every week, and then they'll start to get a bit frustrated, they'll feel a little bit more friction around the tasks that perhaps are outside of their zone of genius, and they come to a little bit of a crunch point where they're like, oh, it feels a bit scary to outsource, oh, I don't want to do this thing. And so that's the kind of point where I get to. It's like, okay, shall we systemize some things first, just to ease things up? Because it's that fine line again between making the leap of investing in people, in systems, but yes, a mentor. Because sometimes when you're in the jar, you just can't see the label, and so you need someone to kind of reflect that thing back to you. And personally, I have had, as you know, like a mentor, a coach since I first started out, and having someone there that's been there, done that, got those proven strategies, or because you lose so much time and energy, flailing around, looking externally for a way forward. And I think if you are, at least if you're not ready to invest in a mentor, at least just focus your energies on one person that aligns with your values, and follow their kind of strategies online or through live streams or whatever it is, because I think that's where a lot of people feel overwhelmed, is where they're trying to download stuff from so many different sources, and they're like, oh, I don't know where to follow. I definitely think it's helpful, and can be really, really powerful to invest in a mentor, for sure. Because, like you say, you just need someone to call you out on your shit now and again as well. Yeah.
And it's also asking for like a bit of help as well from someone that's maybe, it's more an objective opinion. So it can kind of be a mix of mentoring and coaching for me, but it doesn't need to be. I spoke about this on a podcast recently. I did it, like, ask for help. It's amazing how undervalued we have in that concept of just asking people for help. We see it as such a weakness. We see it as like charity, when often when you ask someone for help, it brings them closer to you. It warms them to you, not the other way around. Yeah. When you ask someone for help, most people love the fact that they've felt useful. To them, you've been honest enough, brave enough to ask the question. And a lot of people like that. They like to feel, needed in some way, useful in some context. So yeah, often it's just asking for some help. That may become a mentor relationship or a coach relationship, but not doing it on your own, not thinking that you have to figure everything out yourself is kind of the main thing I kind of keep in my mind.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And our community is like such a massive, massive part of my business. creating those spaces where people can ask for help or ask questions and not necessarily have to pay for it as well. You know, I've got my Facebook group, we do co-working in there, and I also, you know, encourage people to ask questions and know that we've got different experts, not just myself, but different experts that we can answer their questions, help them along. And because I truly believe that that's a lot of the time where a lot of a different type of mental struggle can come in the online space too, is that, you know, they are wondering, well, how do they do it? And I can't do it and whatever. And I think if we can encourage and support and have that, because it is so, it can be quite lonely, as I said, like offline businesses, business owners or whatever, or friends or whatever, can't quite understand the zigzag ups and downs of what it feels like to run your own business. So I think the more that we can, support each other, and you can get support and have those places to go, it's just so important.
Yeah, I think it's such a lovely place to finish, Aimee, as well, on that. I think this concept of community and support and asking for help. Before we finish up, we've got, obviously, the podcast is Purpose Over Profit. Love to get your take on it. Do you subscribe into that, Purpose Over Profit? Do you see them both equally? What's your take?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Purpose is huge for me. I absolutely love to work with people that are there to bring their purpose into real and see, and you know, have completely lost my thread.
That's okay.
But no, I really do. I love working with people that are driven by their purpose, and I think the fact that we can monetize our businesses, I think for me that's about creating more impact, and having your business being profitable is absolutely everything, because we want to create an amazing lifestyle for us, but also it enables us to reinvest back into our businesses anyway, and further widen our reach and our impact, and help more people, because most purposes are very positive, right? So that absolutely.
Well, that's fantastic. I haven't met a business yet, so I work in brand strategy as well. So I haven't met a business yet that's got a terrible purpose around,
no, exactly,
like, against humanity and all this kind of stuff. So you're right, yeah, purpose is normally positive. So that's fantastic as well.
Yeah.
So what have you got going on at the moment, and how can people find you, Aimee?
I normally hang out on Instagram. My handle is I am Aimee Browne, and I also have our Facebook community, which I mentioned, which is the Business Without Burnout community. So yeah, definitely come and connect with me there.
Good stuff. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Aimee. I'm sure the listeners would have been scribbling down just as much as I have during that. And thanks again.
It's fantastic, Aimee. Thank you very much, and lovely meeting you.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
As always, thank you so much for listening to the Pop Pod this week. If you'd like to leave a review or share the podcast with others, then that'd be awesome. You'll find us on Instagram at the Pop Pod, and on Facebook we have a community group called Purpose to Progress that anyone can join. And we'll be back every Monday with a new episode, but until then, stay on purpose, and we'll see you next week.